Brothers and sisters of the Warhammer universe, welcome back to Tortuga's Grim Rosaline. My name is Jeff, and today I want to show you something that I just started doing, but I'm absolutely loving, and that is oil washes instead of regular washes. And I know you might be thinking, hey, oils are kind of scary, because I was scared at first, and I'm still trying to venture more and more into that aspect of painting. But once I show you these steps and you start doing them, I'm sure you're going to love them just as much as me. But before, if you could, do those YouTube thingies that you do so well. Like, click, share, subscribe. And now that that's in, let's do this. So here's a list of all the paints that we'll be using on this build. So we're going to start off with Winsor & Newton's Lamp Black. The first wash we're going to make is Nuln Oil. And we're going to do this by taking the lamp black and doing 1 part of lamp black to a good amount of mineral spirits. Now you don't need a lot of the lamp black, a little will go a long way. What you see here that I'm making by the time I finish it is probably cover 3 to 4 miniatures. And the way to make sure that this is a good wash texture instead of a paint is to take the brush after you've mixed everything together and lightly, as you can see that I will be doing here, brush it against the side of the tin. If the oil stays thick on that tin, you need more mineral spirits. So now that we have the Nuln Oil made, let's go ahead and use this so I can show you the difference between an oil wash versus a regular wash. As you can see, I am generously painting the metallic arms on my halberd. And if you look carefully, you can see that the oil paints go into each of the groove sections and all the nooks and crannies right off the bat, where you would have to try to push it with a wash. And as you can see with oil washes, it's great because there isn't as much pooling as you would see with regular washes. And you can easily go back and push the wash to where you might want it to go if it's too much in one area. Next is going to be Winsor & Newton's Lamp Black and Burnt Sienna. The next wash we're going to make is a version of Argax Earthshade. It's going to be 1 part Lamp Black, 3 parts Burnt Sienna, and a good covering of the mineral spirits. Another great thing with doing oil washes is you get to actually better regulate the shading of the wash that you're trying to make. So if you want this to be a darker Argax, you can lessen up on the sienna. If you want this to be more brown, you can double up on the sienna. And remember, when you're making your washes, especially when you're using multiple different types of oils, you always want to take that mixing brush and brush it along the side of the tin that you're using. If it's thick, you need to add more mineral spirits. You want it nice and thin. And now that we have our version of Argax Earthshade made, let's take a look at it in action against my Harkin World Claimer. As you can see right off the bat, this is looking amazing going on against all the skulls going into between the teeth, the eye sockets, and on the bone plates on the back of the hands and on the chest armor. It's helping separate and give a good definition between all the different bone structures on there. It's also giving a nice rich hue against all of the gold and black armor, like I always like doing with my original Argax, but with this, no pooling. And as you can see, I'm able to go back around to other areas that I already worked on and re-push those oils to where I might feel it's going to look even better. Next is Winsor & Newton's Cadmium Orange and Cadmium Red. This next oil wash is my version of Fuegan Orange. It's going to be 1 part Cadmium Red to 2 parts Cadmium Orange with a lot of mineral spirits. And again, great thing with oil washes is you can play with the color scheme of how you want, if you want it to be a darker or lighter version of the Fuegan Orange. On 2 different builds, I've actually done it, one with a darker orange and one with a lighter orange. And remember, always adjust your mineral spirits to the amount of oils that you're using for your mixtures. And always test by using your brush on the side of the tin. And with my Fuegan oil wash made, let's see it in action on my halberd. As you can see here, I'm using this wash to highlight all of the eyes on the halberd, including the 2 insignias. With just light dabs of areas, I'm able to get the oils to go exactly where I want them around the crevices on either side of the eyes and not have to force it like you would and push like you would with a wash. Next is going to be Winsor & Newton's Lamp Black, Burnt Sienna, and Cadmium Red. The next oil wash we're going to make is Targor Rageshade. I use 1 part lamp black to 2 parts cadmium red and 2 parts burnt sienna and a whole bunch of mineral spirits. And as you can see here, I'm adjusting my colors by adding different amounts of oils to adjust the color so I can have it look exactly how I want it. And of course, I'm adding more mineral spirits as I'm adding oil paints, and I'm testing the sides to make sure it's still keeping that nice thin effect that I want and not being over thick and more of a paint. And you never have to be worried about going too extreme with a color because you can always adjust it with a different oil. And remember, always use a small amount of the oil paints. They go a long way. A tube will last us a very long time. And now that we have our Targor Rageshade oil wash version complete, let's see it in action on my Hellbrute. As you can see, I'm applying the oil to all the skin on the Hellbrute. You can see the oil seeping into between all the muscle textures and where the tubing is going in and out of the body, as well as giving the skin a nice hue that I'm looking for. Next is going to be Winsor Newton's French Ultramarine and Cadmium Red. This is my oil version of Druchii Violet. It's going to be 1 part cadmium red to 2 parts French ultramarine with mineral spirits. And again, because we're using oil paints to make these, we can adjust how dark or bright we want this to be. In this case, for what I was doing, I chose this to be a little bit darker than what I would if I was doing any sort of tabards or capes. And through the whole process, I'm adjusting my mineral spirits to the amount of oils that I'm using, and I'm testing it on the side of my tin to make sure everything is nice and thin. And now that we have the Druchii Violet oil wash all completed, let's see it on my Vashdor the Arcaphane. And you can see this oil wash is doing a great job bringing out the definition by filling in all the crevices and nooks in between all the muscles, as well as giving that nice dark purple hue that we were looking for. And after you apply your oil washes, you can always go back like I'm doing here with a Q-tip, lightly dipped in mineral spirits. And I'm just rubbing off some of the wash to bring a higher definition back on some of the muscle structure. And that is how I make and use my own version of oil washes. As you can see by the 3 miniatures here that I've done these on, I feel it has definitely leveled up my painting style. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you might have learned something new that you can try and apply it to your own miniatures. And like I always say, Grim for the Grim Rosaline.